For the second example of a traffic flow problem, we'll look at a roundabout and see how that differs from a typical street grid. The setup is still the same. We're still looking at flow in to an intersection equaling flow out. And we'll still set them all up. In this example, I've given us a case where we have a lot more intersections to deal with, but that works the same as the previous example. So we have A, B, C, D, E, and F. And we'll just use our flow in equals flow out. So for intersection A, you've got a flow in that's going to be 500 and x6. So x6 plus 500 equals the flow out. And it only comes out on x1 for that intersection. So we go on to intersection B. Coming in, we've got x5. And going out, I've got x6 and 400. So that's going to be equal to x6 plus 400. For intersection C, coming in, we've got x4 and 200. And going out is on x5. And we just continue on down the line with the rest of our intersections. So D is going to be x3 equaling x4 plus 400. E is going to be x2 plus 300 equals x3. And F is going to be x1 equaling 200 plus x2. So there's our setup. Again, we'll need to put this into a format that's usable as an augmented matrix. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. And here we have x1 minus x6 equals 500 for intersection A. x5 minus x6 equals 400 for B. For C, I have x4 minus x5 equals negative 200. For D, it's going to be x3 minus x4 equals 400. E is x2 minus x3 equals negative 300. And x1 minus x2 equals 200. And I'll just note that sometimes when I see students set these up, they might have different signs along here. As long as it's all equivalent, in other words, as long as I were to say just multiply through by a -1 on the entire equation, and it's the same, then you're okay. It'll all work out in the end. It just depends on exactly how you manipulated these when you initially set them up, as to what kind of signs you get here at this stage of the game. So as long as it's equivalent from a row standpoint, you should be just fine. So there you have kind of a little bit more usable format. Again, we'll throw in some zeros to represent the coefficients for the missing variables. So now that we've got that set up, we can throw it into an augmented matrix and row ref it. And we know how that process goes. So this is what we end up with at the end of that. So let's do a little RREF here. We would load this into an augmented matrix, put it in, and what we get out is the following. And there's a lot of variables here, so I'm going to just make sure I get them all accounted for here by putting up some variables on the top, just so I know where I'm at here. So x1, let's see, we get 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, negative 1, and 500. And 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, negative 1, and 300. 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, negative 1, and 600. 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, and 200. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, and 400. And then finally, we get a row of all zeros at the bottom. So x6 is a free variable here. And again, we'll go ahead and convert this now into some equations again. So we have that the first row there is telling us that x1 minus x6 equals 500. Second row says that x2 minus x6 equals 300. And then x3 minus x6 is equal to 600. x4 minus x6 is equal to 200. And x5 minus x6 equals 400. And of course, x6 is our independent or free variable that we get to choose. Of course, the last step then is to write this out as some explicit equations in terms of x6. So 500 plus x6, x2 is going to be equal to 300 plus x6. x3 is going to be equal to 600 plus x6. x4 is going to be equal to 200 plus x6. x5 is equal to 400 plus x6. And of course, x6 is again free. So there's a distinct difference here between the roundabout and a typical street grid. When we look at the possible solutions for x6, there's really no limitation on what x6 could be. Clearly, if we want the roundabout to continue through, we better have it have some carrying capacity. It can't really be zero. But nonetheless, what we end up with is something where as long as it's bigger than zero, the roundabout is functional. And in fact, in this case, it seems to indicate that x6 could be as large as it wants, as long as we make the carrying capacity for the rest of the roundabout sufficient. We can carry as many cars as we like. So, this is a really distinct difference. As long as x6 is bigger than zero, that's all we really need for a roundabout or traffic circle to carry cars through. So you can see it's in some ways it's a lot more advantageous than using a street grid, because we can increase the capacity of that traffic circle and carry effectively as many cars as we want through the intersection